How many hearts have you broken with those great big beautiful eyes? Those great big beautiful eyes that tell such beautiful lies.
How many times have you kissed somebody like you kissed me then? I don't.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all ships at sea. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you an important message from the Prepared Mind Network.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. Boy, I tell you, they have really stepped up the volatility in the government with regard to us, the people. There's an incredible story I want to touch on here. It is that the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, whatever his name is, this little effete snob of a bureaucrat, right, is calling on the FBI to counter the reported threats against schools, school staff, teachers, etc. It is incredible, folks, that is their concern, is parents. That's right. The government is now looking at parents. We covered this yesterday when I said that, the National School Board Association has decided to, ask the Biden administration to label parents who politically oppose them as domestic terrorists. Now, of course, the government's going to say, oh, well, there's credible threats being made. Really, credible threats? An actual threat from a credible source? Maybe this idea that parents should be in charge of their children's lives, their children's education, that parents should have a say in the schools that they fund. Maybe that's an idea. Maybe that's just an idea, kind of the way Joe Biden says Antifa is just an idea. What do you think? Unbelievable what's going on. Everyone just needs to, hey, wake up. We just need to wake up to what's going on. These people are not backing down. They're not backing off. They're not giving up. Right. The volatility and the threats of violence are continuing against us. Now you're going to love this, right? This is incredible. The Gestapo FBI. Who are they going after? Well, besides parents, they're going after the police in New York City. The FBI has raided NYPD Sergeants Union. That's right, the Sergeants Union has been raided because the NYPD decided to support Donald Trump in the last election. Oh, I'm sure they've got other real reasons they want to point to, folks. Of course they have real reasons. They wouldn't just make stuff up. They wouldn't politically persecute groups. But it's important to note, folks, in this situation, once again, the little small units, they can be disposed of. They're disposable. Hey, NYPD Sergeants Union, you're not part of the big club. You're not in the big club, the fancy club, the important club. You are disposable, and the FBI will come and dispose of you. It's a lesson for all of us, folks. Nobody is safe. And standing up for what's right, doing what's right, making decisions that are right, that's no guarantee of safety, and in fact, hiding and doing nothing, pretending to not exist, nothing is safe anymore. These people are coming after all of us, folks. Just incredible. It is continuing to blow me away. 1 second, let me check on this. I've got a story here that I think was, oh, there it is. There it is. It came up. I've been waiting for this. Right here, Jeremy Brown, former Green Beret, 20-year Army veteran, retired, former Republican congressional candidate, was arrested because he was at what? The January 6th protest. Well, he didn't go in the Capitol building, but he's been arrested anyways. Well, the FBI, folks, yet again, the FBI, folks, the government is stepping up their attacks. They tried making this guy an informant, tried making him an agent provocateur, a plant, and he refused. He recorded them, he released it, and now he's been arrested. And a judge has denied bail for a 20-year Army veteran. I'm not safe as a veteran. This guy is not safe as a veteran. Nobody is safe, folks. The police, you're not safe. Parents, you're not safe. Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable. And the people don't give a shit, which is good. Finally, the people are standing up and fighting back. Guess what? In what way? Well, the fuck Joe Biden chant, the fuck Joe Biden crowd is back. And thousands of Trump supporters line the streets in Howell, Michigan. As who shows up? Oh, President Xi Biden. He shows up and is greeted with Trump flags, fuck Biden flags, chants of fuck Biden. That's right, folks. Remember, President Xi Biden was the most popular president ever, ever, ever. 81 million votes. Pow, the guy, from his bed, from his toilet, from his basement, he was able to get more done in the campaigning world than anyone ever has. Isn't that just incredible? Yep, but people aren't giving up, folks. They're not backing down. We're not going away. Even though the FBI is now a political tool being used to start investigating parents who don't like critical race theory, who don't like the rainbow dildo butt monkey type crap going on in schools, the pornography that's being pushed on people as propaganda and being labeled as educational material. Right? They're going after veterans like Jeremy Brown. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, what do you say to that, folks? Do you think that they're stepping up the SHTF volatility? Oh, I think so. There's going to come a point, folks, where people come unhinged and unglued. It's coming. Meanwhile, the National Institutes of Health Director, Francis Collins, resigns. Well, why? Why is he resigning? Well, could it be because that documents reveal he lied about his involvement in the research, criminal research? Is it criminal? Gain of function that is weaponizing disease? Yeah, well, he's resigned, but Dr. Fauci, he's not going to resign. Oh, no. He's far too important. He is the foremost expert, as you all know, in everything we need to know. So I thought you might like to take a look at this.
And not just to think about, well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No, screw your freedom.
There comes a time when you do have to give up what you consider your individual right of making your own decision. There comes a time when you do have to give up what you consider your individual right of making your own decision. It's vaccination or disciplinary action.
I don't think the point could have made any more clear as we have seen in that video right there. Thank you, Mr. T, for putting that together for us. Folks, screw your freedoms. That's what the FBI is saying about teachers, right? Parents who criticize their teachers, about, police who decide they're going to support President Trump, or veterans who refuse to be their agents, their bitches. But get this, on top of that, right? Get this, the FBI admits they don't track violence of radical left Antifa. That's right. They're too busy worrying about you and whether or not you are, I don't know, playing along with their game. Meanwhile, yeah, screw your rights, screw your freedoms. Someone else can make your decisions for you. It's time to give up those old antiquated ideas that you're a free human being, that you have rights. Can you fucking believe they're even talking that way? Screw your freedoms. Sorry, Arnold. There comes a time when you have to give up your rights. Sorry, Anthony, not happening. The people are getting pissed off. They're showing up by the thousands to say fuck you to Biden, de Blasio, anyone that sticks their head out, right? These communist fucks or fascists using communist techniques, however you want to talk about it, right? And then we learn that the FBI doesn't track the violence of left-wing radicals like Antifa and BLM. What is going on in this country? 1930s, Nazi Germany. 1930s, Nazi Germany. They used the exact same tactics. It was fascism using communist techniques and takeover, but the political system they had was socialism, but it was social fascism, not social communism. They're doing it again, folks. And they're expecting us to bend over backwards for them, bend over forwards and take it. People are saying no. They need to keep saying no. But the government is not going to stop. They're not going to quit. And I want to read excerpts from a letter that was sent to me from somebody who has been a longtime Prepared Mind supporter. And I've had to edit some information to protect the innocent, right? Hide some details, but this is the letter. He says, "Hey, John, things are not looking great where I am at the moment. Since my work does business with the federal government, they are going to comply with the Buck-Fiden unconstitutional mandate. That said, I won't. As you have said in the past, you always have a choice, but there are always consequences for your choices. Well, I guess this is the hill I'm going to die on. It's really unfortunate because I really had some traction under me at this job and was making good money with them. But with so many conceding and cowering before the might of the state, I just can't do it. Looks like they are going to force our compliance, so we should be fired just in time for Christmas. Like you said, with all the nurses and doctors being lauded as heroes by the media, now we're all the villains. This may be the impetus I need to finally blow ballast and make the move to XX state or XX state, states withheld. But it's a lonely road to hoe. I have already contacted that lawyer. Like you, I'm sure I'll land on my feet, but it may be a while, and I may be a little worse for wear. Sadly, the Republic died an awful death long ago, and we've been living in the hollowed out, zombified remains of that gorgeous creature. What all these fucksticks have done to America and to us can never be forgiven. Thanks for everything, John. Talk to you soon, brother. Semper Fi, Jean-Luc." Folks, many people are being pressured, coerced. The state corporations are using duress. I know a bunch of people, folks, who are working in private industry that is tied to government projects at the state or the federal level, and they're all feeling the pressure. And they're all fighting back also. They're saying, nope, not going to do it. You fire me. You fire me. It's coming down to they're dividing the country. Remember when I started talking about that a couple of years ago? I said, look, there's a chasm that's developing, right? And it's growing wider and wider, and it's getting harder to deal. This all happened under the Trump administration. This noticeable chasm where there was no more compromise. Remember when politicians used to compromise with one another? Okay, we'll cut these taxes here and we'll increase a little spending over there. Something like that. Have you heard anything like that? This idea that something is bipartisan, which always rang hollow, never sounded true to me. But at least they could try it. Now there's no talking, there's no crossing the aisle, right? It's just a big fuck you to the other side. And it's coming from both sides. Remember, folks, as much as you and I understand that we are Americans, that we have law and order, the Constitution, that we are normal, we haven't changed. Even though we know and realize the left has gone further to the left, off the screen, it doesn't change the fact that they believe they're every bit as correct as we believe we're correct in the direction the nation should go. Now, of course, my belief is it should go in the direction of freedom and stay on that course. What do they want? The political left wants to screw your freedoms, wants you to give up your individual rights, wants you to submit to government mandates, wants you to cower before the FBI, wants you to be afraid of Antifa and BLM, wants you to worry about the military failing in its mission, wants you to God, that's what they want. That's what they're pushing for. Unbelievable. Now, folks, we have a lot going on at Patreon, as you know. I can put up links to videos, links to news stories, and right now you're listening. If you're watching this live, one, get your questions to Jolene. Two, you know you've got all of these links down below, and Jolene is doing a fantastic job. She's also setting up the thepreparedmind.club, thepreparedmind.club. That is your store, but it's also going to become a linked news source for a lot of stuff, for a lot of things, folks. We're trying to get news feeds together for everybody, but the really powerful things I can't put on YouTube and may not be able to put on the club, we can still put on Patreon. So I'm glad you're here and supporting us. And I've got some stories here, and I have to be very careful, right? There's a pastor from Trinidad whose son has died one day after receiving a tequila shot. Says, my son is dead. He took it. They're killing us. Folks, they're finding out all over the world there are real consequences, right? You can either lose your job or you can risk your life. You get to make the choice. That's right, folks. They can't force us. They claim these are mandates, and it's mandatory. What they're saying is the federal government is they're going to fine businesses, and businesses will get rid of you rather than pay a fine. Okay, then. Fuck you, Joe Biden. Fuck you, business. You can't do business with the government unless you kiss their ass. Folks, the same exact thing happened in Nazi Germany. Are you a loyal National Socialist? Meaning, are you a loyal Nazi? If you are, you'll get business contracts. If you choose to disobey or not accept the prescribed action the government wants you to take, you're a second-class citizen. In Germany, pre-World War II, in Nazi Germany, there were second-class citizens. First-class citizens were Nazi Party members, Nazi Party supporters, fascist business leaders. That was your first-tier German. Now, if you're just a regular person, you could join the Gestapo, join the SS, the military, and you could serve the National Socialist Party as a Nazi. But there were many, many people, folks, doctors, businessmen, average people, who were scared to death that at any time there could be a knock on their door and they could get hauled off because someone makes an accusation, they snitch on them. It's incredible, folks, what is going on in our country right now. We're seeing 1930s Germany taking off. You may look outside and not see anyone with a swastika on their arm, but you can bet your ass they're there. See, back then, they loved to wear symbols of their authority, their uniform, the Nazi symbol. Right? That was their power. Now, people are sneaky. These sneaky leftist bastards pretend to be American, and they're not. They're anti-American. They're anti-Constitution. They're absolute scum. Now, this happened earlier today. They're manufacturing hype, right? The police took a man into custody after his suspicious vehicle was located outside the Supreme Court, right? And then the police performed a controlled explosion. In other words, in order to make it look like there was a dangerous event, in order to ensure the public understood what a threat this vehicle was, right? So they'll use an explosion to supposedly set off and destroy the explosive device. That type of shit. It's all manufactured hype. It's smoke and mirrors. It is Hollywood fireworks. And I bet the person in that vehicle was probably a parent, probably doesn't like critical race theory. Oh, I'm sure, right? They still haven't managed to find a way to make that type of crap stick. But they're pushing, folks. They're not going away. Don't worry, they're gonna come up with more. They want to come after the Second Amendment, folks. They're coming after your First Amendment. Now, speaking of First Amendment, oh yeah, that guy, Mike Pence, showed up, I think it was on the Hannity show. Unbelievable. Who the fuck is this guy, right? He says he parted amicably with President Trump, and he praised the Capitol Police. The Capitol Hill DC police, the DC police that stomped and killed people on January 6th, that invited people into the Capitol and then arrested them afterwards for it. He's praising them. Mike Pence is a fucking turncoat. He's a pile of shit. Right? Any chance he had at redeeming himself died on that day. That guy. They're not going away. They're going to continue, folks, to put guys like Mike Pence, Representative McCarthy, Senator McConnell, Turtle Boy. They're going to continue to put these out as Republican leadership. They're not, folks. They are extremely unpopular with the people, and their power, the only power they seem to exercise in Washington, D.C., is the power to give up to the Democrats, to hand over their vote, right? To be really good losers. That's about all they're good at. Unbelievable, folks. Okay, how can I say this one? How can I do this one? The big question is being asked. How many more people have to die because of the lies? People are, I talked about that pastor who their son died. It doesn't matter whether you get 1, 2, 3, or 4 tequila shots. It doesn't matter. Right now we've had a fella, his name is Mark Elliott Pilcher, 53-year-old, Emmy Award-winning guy, dies. How many more people, folks, are going to die? People who are supposed to be immune. How many more are going to die before Anthony Fauci is called up and held to account? And an article came out on Yahoo News. This is Yahoo News, folks. Mainstream media. Guess what they're talking about? Where does natural immunity stand in a fight over vaccine mandates? Well, since it's mainstream media, you know that there's a reason they're talking about this. Because there is a call for natural immunity. Right, a couple days ago, Jonathan Isaac, NBA player, came out and said, hey, look, this is what I believe. He believes that he has natural immunity. And a couple other players have come out, other people, notable scientists, is starting to gain traction. This idea that it's not a problem. At the same time, folks, they're trying to tell us that the hospitals are overwhelming, that there's 2 or 3 people in a city got it, so it must be critical. We have to be scared. When are we, the people, going to stop being scared? Well, I tell you what, right now, I'm not scared. Everyone I know isn't scared, but there are people out there who are scared. And the mainstream media wants us to believe that we've all we're all risking our lives. We're all scared and afraid. It's time to stand up and speak your truth. Speak your truth. Right? Being silent isn't working. Being silent isn't working. Now, this was a big deal, and I think these people should not be silent. New York, as in New York State, New York City, the largest healthcare provider, just fired 1,400 workers for refusing to get the cerveza pokey pokey. 1,400 workers. That's just this one healthcare provider. Don't you think there's enough doctors, nurses, and other professionals out there who could get together and start their own health network, their own clinics, right? When is that going to happen? Would that be allowed? Or would the state medical boards pull their licenses? As it is, will the state medical boards pull the licenses of doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals who have refused to get the Jim Jones juice? Will they lose their license because they're being irresponsible according to the health boards of the states? You know, these certification boards. Is that next? What good does it have? What good does it do to have a degree if a bureaucratic institution decides that you're not fit for practice? Folks, everything is being weaponized. Everything. Science is weaponized. Medicine is weaponized. Our politics is now weaponized. And it used to be that politics was politics. And you could have a good argument at the table during Thanksgiving. You could have a good argument at the water cooler at work, and everyone would just go their separate ways. And hey, that's how it works. No problem. Not a big deal, right? Now it's weaponized. They don't like you. They're going to come after you. They're going to try canceling you. They're going to try destroying you, costing you your job, your family, your life, your car, your house, whatever they can. This is shit hitting the fan, folks. When the FBI has been weaponized by the Biden administration to go after parents. What do you think that means to you? When media is weaponized, where they can destroy somebody, their source of income, right? Because they've said something that someone doesn't like in the media. Oh, by the way, there's success with medicine being hidden in India, Argentina, Peru, and Mexico, and other places, folks. There are places where cerveza bug has been practically wiped out with early treatment. But guess what? Those news stories will never make it to mainstream media because it's weaponized. But you can get it here at the Prepared Mind channel. There's other places that are carrying it, and we're all working together, folks. If I see another media source, or Jolene does, or Uman does, or any other person out there, right, they're going to point to those news stories. And that's really what our job is. Your job, take care of yourself. But I'll ask you, subscribe and hit the like button and make sure you hit the notification bell. I'll ask you to share these videos because we're talking about what is really happening out here. No more pie in the sky, Pollyannish bullshit. This is 1930s Germany right now in the United States of America. And they're coming for us. You need food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and a means of self-defense. You need that, folks. And we need you here on Patreon. I love the work we've done. It's getting the visuals with the audio and everything else. What we've got though is we've got questions. It's going to be question time, right? I get the first half of the hour, the monologue. You guys get the second half. So let's do it. Let's get into your questions. We've got Militant Roots with this. He says, this sort of takeover has taken place many times throughout history. The scale of this, though, humans are wild. Yes, humans are wild. In the late 19 teens, the Bolsheviks, the communists, were making a huge push in Russia to take down Tsar Nicholas's family, the Russian aristocracy, and they wanted to destroy it, right? And they did, and they created the Soviet Union. They used the same tactics we're seeing today, where government is using a wedge device to create and pronounce there to be an emergency that only they have the solution to, that you must follow. And if you fail, you become an obstacle and a thorn in the side of the state, and you can be punished for it. You heard Dr. Fauci's own words in that promo we had on earlier. The fascist quotes promo. I'm going to keep playing that because it is critical to understand. This is where we're at. It was done in the Soviet Union. It was done in Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany is doing precisely what we're doing now. As Militant Roots says, yeah, this has happened many places. China, Cuba, throughout Central and South America, folks, and in Africa, there are socialist regimes that have used these exact same techniques. They create an emergency. Then they offer the solution that the people demand. The people demand, help us, help us. The government says, here's your solution. And what they offer is exactly what the government wants. More power, more authority. And that the people have fewer rights, fewer privileges. It happens every single time. But the scale, as Militant Roots mentions, the scale of this is now global. It is not South Africa. It is not Chile, right? It is not Guatemala. It is not Cuba. It is the United States of America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. It's everywhere, this takeover. All right, we got David. He says, looks like the mainstream media has turned on the Zuck, allowing Facebook criticism and now hearing testimony from a whistleblower. Who controls this? Who decides who's in the cool kids club and who gets kicked out? Now, this whistleblower that's testifying is doing something very, very, very sneaky. If I may, I really am glad you went and looked at this. You're going to like this shit. Here we are. The whistleblower is actually an activist, folks, a far left activist. And the goal of this is not to destroy Zuckerberg. I'm sure he's lost some money, right? They had the problem yesterday. But the whistleblower is saying that uncensored social media destabilizes democracies. Uncensored social media. So what is she calling for? What is this whistleblower who's now heralded as a good thing? Edward Snowden, bad whistleblower. Private Manning, who became a girl, Chelsea Manning, bad whistleblower. Julian Assange, bad, evil whistleblower. Why is this whistleblower good? Right? This is what I like to do. I like to think about things in a different fashion. Right? This is bullshit. Uncensored media. What they're trying to do is say, hey, Zuck, you better get this shit under control and start censoring your media, because what you're doing is dangerous to democracies. Well, sorry, bitch whistleblower. This is a constitutional republic. And it can withstand free speech and the risks that are associated with that, because they're far less dangerous, far less corrosive, far less corrupting than state-owned, controlled censorship media. That's what they're pushing for, folks. More power for Zuckerberg, more censorship, more government control of what is being said. Oh yeah, folks. This is not a good thing. That's my opinion on it. So yeah, I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if Zuckerberg doesn't come out of this as some sort of, well, okay, pal, you've done good. Now we expect better from you. Now get back to work, you little ginger. All righty, we got Serge. He checks in. He says, one annoying thing I found about normies, that is people who are asleep, sheep, American sheep. One thing I find about normies asking for red pill source is when you give them Facebook link, they dismiss it as not credible. YouTube conspiracy wacko. Well, that's just it. The normies, the sheep, some of them are starting to rub the sleepy dust out of their eyes. They're starting to look around. They're starting to ask questions and say, hey, this doesn't seem right. And then when you present them, right, with the prepared mind, the rsyndicate.com, when you present them with theories, when you present them with evidence, when you present them with facts, the first thing they do is compare that to what they've heard. And then they have a knee-jerk reaction. Well, no, that's conspiracy talk there. No. All I've done is talk about factual news stories for today. And what the FBI is doing is not a conspiracy theory, right? Arresting a veteran for refusing to comply with their shit and then having a judge say, no, you're not going to be allowed to have bail. 20-year special forces, folks, Green Beret, Army vet, congressional candidate, can't be trusted to be bailed out. That's your government. That's not a conspiracy theory. The FBI being turned loose to investigate parents who oppose critical race theory, a fantastic Marxist lie. That's not a conspiracy theory, but it is so fantastic in that it is the opposite of what America was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when Americans believed the FBI actually had good guys in there. Not what we've seen since Trump has been elected, which was James Comey coming out and saying, yeah, Hillary Clinton, she had an unsecured server in her basement, violation of the law, violation of national security, violation of the law. People died. CIA agents were outed because it was hacked by the Chinese. But she doesn't need to go to jail. She doesn't need to be prosecuted. Everything's fine. Did the world fucking forget about that? I haven't. Unbelievable. Stunning, folks. We got Paisley Prepper checking in. Says, I have been job hunting, and a lot of applications are now asking if you're jabbed or you plan to be. You bet, folks. You see, businesses don't want to hire you if they're afraid that the local government, the state government, or the federal government is going to put mandates on them in the future. And they're like, why should I hire someone, train them, just to say I've got to fire you now? Once again, folks, it is a corrosive tool that they are putting in the middle of America and prying with. So if people are unwilling to go get jobs, they're like, fuck it, why should I go get a job? Why? And employers are like, why should I hire anyone? They're just going to quit, or I'm going to have to get rid of them anyway. Folks, this is not just, this has been going on for 18 fucking months. It used to be that the country was run with real economic, shall we say, fundamentals in play, like supply and demand. They've destroyed this country. Unbelievable. Two Owls checks in, says, I'm really tired of the brainwashed. I'm tired of my news, not a reliable source, aka the mainstream media and news. They don't just trust you. How do I politely tell them to pull their head out of their ass? The brainwashed, not the mainstream media. The mainstream media have intentionally placed their heads right up their ass, because what they did is in their stomach, right? in their stomach, they had a section of their stomach removed and a plate glass, piece of plate glass installed in their stomach so they can see where they're going with their heads up their asses. But the brainwashed, it is, I wonder, I don't want to say it's through no fault of their own, but that's not true. They have made a decision, the brainwashed. They've made a decision that they're going to accept reality as presented to them by what would normally be considered recognized authority sources. Right? Normally, you would say the government, they're probably going to give you mostly the truth. Mainstream media, you're going to get a lot of truth. You and I have noted that it's been going downhill for years, right? The amount of fact and truth you get in the mainstream media. It's just down, 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 down to where it's now all lies and propaganda. What is the agenda? What's the narrative the government is trying to sell us? It's no better than a TV commercial where someone takes a drink of some soda pop and all of a sudden their life gets better and they're singing and dancing and having a good time and getting laid, right? It's propaganda. And so the brainwashed people of America, folks, they didn't just get brainwashed yesterday or for the last year. They've been being brainwashed their whole lives. Their whole lives. I've heard from many people that a significant percentage of their family that's over the age of 60, they get their news from Fox and they think they're doing a good job. They'll watch Fox from sun up to sundown and that's all they know. So if Fox changes their story, then they'll change, their brainwashing. There is no source for news like the Prepared Mind Network and all of the news organizations we are affiliated with. There's just no substitute for it. It's stark. And so the brainwashed look at what we're talking about and say that's conspiracy theory, or that's too fantastic to believe. But it's only because they've been led by the nose down the primrose path, right, to put their head in the sand. And so they want to wake up, some of them. Others are just brainwashed idiots, and there's no helping them because they made a decision years ago to stop thinking for themselves. Some people, literally, folks, aren't smart enough to think for themselves. Other people are, and they abandon it. Other people are afraid to think for themselves, sadly. All right. We got an incoming message from the big giant head. What the hell is that? John, if you were still in active Marines, what would you do regarding the oath? It's easy for me to tell you how I would stand up for what's right. It's easy for me right now to say, yeah, I would do this and I would do that and I would do the other. Now, if I was a Marine right now, I would be very young. I would be age 18 to 30, right? I'd be very young. Most Marines are ranked E1 to E3, the grunts, the non-rates. It isn't until you get to the end of your first enlistment that you'll pick up corporal, or in your second enlistment, that'll be part of your bonus is to move you up to E4. So, you're very young. Most of them are very young. So what would I do regarding the oath? I'm not going to tell you what I would do right now. I'm going to tell you what I did when I was a Marine and my oath. Right? I did a little bit of whistleblowing myself. I don't want to give specifics because I don't think it's appropriate. People were being hurt. People were suffering. People were being damaged. And the oath I took was to protect America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And after you get done with that one, right, God, country, corps, family, all of that stuff. Members of my unit were being hurt by others. And it didn't matter what happened to me, and it didn't matter what happened to my military career. None of that mattered, right? The fact that the month before I was nominated for Marine of the Month for my unit. None of that matters, right? What matters is what you do today. And the fact that I basically said, fuck it. And I stood up and I did what I thought was right. doing what you think is right, folks, whether it's right or not, making a decision about how you're going to serve, whether it's popular or not. You have to do what's right. I did what was right for me back then. And I still think I did the right thing. I wasn't going to participate and watch in the destruction of people's lives. I wasn't going to allow people to be hurt and harmed because others wanted to punish them using their rank, their privilege. Right? Having integrity and making the right decision is incredibly important. I can sit here and tell you now, I wouldn't take that fucking cerveza bug, Jim Jones juice crap. My oath would prohibit me from following orders that I knew were illegal or wrong. I can tell you that that's how I would be today, and I know it because that's how I was 30 years ago. Right? I'm the same guy. I just have more experience. But back then, I stood for what was right. And I said, I'm not going to participate or belong to a unit, right, that is going to allow this to happen to their men. And that's just the way it is. You know, I know who I am. Question is, do you know who you are? Now, there's another thing that goes along with this. If you believe what you believe strongly enough, if you have the courage of your convictions, what are you willing to do to get the results you're looking for? And I'm not promoting violence or telling anyone to do anything illegal. I'm just talking about principles. Will you act on your principles? And then there's this thing. Imagine yourself never been deployed before. You're a soldier, you're a Marine, you're on a mission. You have your M16 or your M4. You have ammunition issued to you. You have loaded weapons. You're in enemy territory. You've never fired a shot at another human being. Never had a shot fired at you. The question you might want to ask yourself is, what happens when that first shot goes whizzing by you and either misses everybody or thumps someone else? And then another shot and another shot, right? You're being fired at by the enemy and people are being hurt or killed. What move do you make? Well, your life is in danger as well as theirs. And if you don't respond, it's not going to get any better. Think about that. People are being hurt, people are being killed, and you are also at risk. If you do not respond, it will only get worse. Here we are, folks. Shit has hit the fan. We're taking fire. We're being attacked by our enemy, not with bullets, but with propaganda, with lies, with threats, with financial loss and damage. And if you don't fire back, it's not going to get better. So the question is, how do you fire back? Well, you make those texts, those phone calls, you tell people to wake up. At some point, though, instead of it being political propaganda and threats coming from the government, it could be real bullets one day. Once you fire back, you step over this invisible line. You've now become part of that. Right? That's when servicemen and women get combat ribbons because you've fired back. Right? You've served in combat. Once you've done that, you've crossed that line, now you know what that's all about. And you can continue to do it because you know what it's like to make that decision. Right, to step over that line. There's no turning back. You've now stepped over it. We're going to come to that soon, in my opinion. And then you can think about the oath you've taken, or the oath that you believe in your heart, that you should stand for freedom, that you should protect others, that our country, our United States of America, is valuable, and what they're doing to it is wrong. At some point, folks, it's going to happen, and you're going to have to make that decision and stand up for what you believe, or you're going to have to just turn tail and run. We all serve in different capacities. We all have different roles in this. right? Find out what your role is. Serve in the fullest capacity you can. But those days are coming, folks. Look at the news stories we're talking about. Look what's happening in Australia. People are being run down and beaten. Antifa is burning, looting, murdering. They love that shit. They're doing it in Germany too, folks. All over the world, these Antifa types. We're in great risk. We're in great peril. And it's not just a city. It's not just one or two people. It's all of our cities, all of our lives, and our entire country. While Joe Biden says the bad guys are just an idea. While he sicks the FBI on parents. While Merrick Garland pretends to be some sort of morally superior, intelligent dude. Right? He's going to prosecute the fuck out of parents because they don't like the political agenda being shoved down the throats of their children. Unbelievable. All right, we got Uman said, people's memories are so short. It's lucky if they remember anything 72 hours after the 72-hour news cycle ends. I hear you, man. That makes perfect sense. A lot of people have been conditioned, and this has become my understanding of the average normie, the average sheeple, the average American dipshit, is they watch the news cycle, and you're calling it a 72-hour news cycle. That might be very accurate. There's a common term, the 24-hour news cycle, and then there's the 1-hour news cycle. But as stories change, what the media does is they introduce new stories into the cycle, and they take old stories and dispose of them. And they're constantly adding new ones in as they dispose of the old ones. Now, as they add a new one in and throw the old one away, they modify, create, reverse the narrative completely so that the people have something new, and they feed them, as you're suggesting, for 72 hours, that new idea. And they repeat it every hour on the hour. They repeat this new news cycle, and it becomes the mantra. So one day, masks are bad. And then a couple days later, Dr. Fauci says masks are good. So they start saying masks are good. If you recall, folks, we did masks good, bad, good for a long time. For a long time, they were playing that game. And people just spouted, regurgitated what they were being told in this news cycle. They've been conditioned, in other words, folks, to have no memory, because the news will tell you what you need to believe. They'll give you the story that you need to repeat. I saw a bunch of people wearing masks in the grocery store the other day, and I just look at them and smile. Just fucking laugh at them. Hey, how you doing there? How's the breathing? You know, how's that diaper smell? Crazy stuff. We got Uman says, most are too lazy to think for themselves. Very true, Uman. He says, easier to feed your confirmation bias and take the hopium than to listen to stuff that tells you things are going to be hard and you have to do something. It's very true. And this is where government comes in. This is where the mainstream media comes in. They say, hey, you don't have to think for yourself. We'll do it for you. Here's some news. Here's some opinion. And the mainstream media makes it easy. So they're like, why should I really think about that? And look at all of those conflicting ideas and concepts. When I get stuff from, John or Alex Jones or Canadian Prepper or Sensible Prepper, why should I put myself through the rigmarole of having to think about all that stuff when really smart people at CNN can help me out? When it comes to government, same story. The government is an accepted source. Well, they're the officials. They're officials, right? They've got sonorous titles like chairman and premier. They just, they sound important. They're government officials. This is the official story. I'm going to listen to that. There's no reason for me to think about this. So they've conditioned them to be lazy. They've conditioned them to let ideas go and always repeat the newest mantra. It is George Orwell's 1984, folks, with newspeak, where they create new words and ideas and say, all those old words, you're not allowed to use them anymore. Bad. Words like homosexual, bad. When was the last time you heard the word homosexual? Think about it. When was the last time you heard the word homosexual used in the media? They have new words for it, don't they? They have new words for it. Warpaint checks in, says, one thing I know about riding an apple cart down a bumpy road, it's the bottom apples that always get bruised. Very true. An apple cart down a bumpy road. Well, the apple cart, when it goes down a bumpy road, right, the apples that aren't bedded deeply get bounced out. But it is the apples that are way down in the bottom, that are nestled in there, that have are situated deeply in understanding the bumpy road they're going down. I had to turn this into an SHTF analogy for you. That's why we folks, we're getting bruised and beaten up. And the normies out there, a lot of them have no fucking clue. They've been bounced out and they're just baking in the sun. They're fine. They're cool. Alrighty, what else have we got here? We've got Deep in the Bunker says, hello, John. I'm a longtime YouTube subscriber, but first time on Patreon. Welcome, folks. We're getting a lot of new people at Patreon because at some point we're going to get dumped off of YouTube. You know, because I don't want to. Uncensored social media destabilizes democracies. Wanted to make sure I said that right. Want to make sure I repeat the mainstream media mantra. You bet, folks. Anyways, it says this. I was wondering what happened to your bug out location and the converted bell tent. Did it go wrong somehow? No, it did not. The RMZ is still there. The yurt conversion of the bell tent is still there. Everything is still there. I am here in North America now because of what is happening. I'm here in North America because of what is happening. I feel that I have an important role to play, not sitting in a hammock, sipping a pina colada, you know, enjoying the off-the-grid lifestyle that the RMZ presented me. I did what I wanted there. I went there. I converted jungle into an off-the-grid survival place. Right? I proved it could be done, collecting rainwater, you know, living on Armageddon chow. I did all those things I wanted. But it became painfully apparent that I did not belong there at this time. And I can always go back. It's not a retreat. It's not a fallback place. It's a reward if we win this war. Or shall I say, if we survive this war that we are destined to win. It's not going to be easy won. It's not going to be easy fought, as we're seeing, folks. Anyways, thank you for asking about that, and welcome to Patreon. You're going to get so much more out of your experience here on Patreon. All right, we've got Dangerous Freedom After Dark says, how many Americans are still in Afghanistan, and do you think the State Department will get them out? Do I think the State Department will get them out? We don't know how many are in Afghanistan. We were told by the State Department that they have one agent for every one person over in Afghanistan. Well, to me, that means they should be able to tell us, it's 250, it's 500, because they should know. Well, they don't know. They won't tell us, and we're past the 72-hour news cycle where we are supposed to forget all about Afghanistan. But the fact of the matter remains, there are hundreds or there are thousands of American citizens still trapped over there. We don't know. How many of those Americans, folks, have been killed by the Taliban or by ISIS, or died as a result of exposure to the elements in that country trying to escape? How many Americans have died and will never, ever be able to tell their parents, their family, you know, I love you? They're done. How many people are not just dead, but how about enslaved? held as human slaves over there because they're Americans, and the Taliban, right, think it's appropriate for them to enslave Americans as a punishment for what they did. We don't know. It's still real, folks. We do know that Bagram Air Base is open and that there are Chinese warplanes there now, an American air base. We just walked away. We do know that the Taliban has $85 billion worth of equipment, and however they've chosen to use it, employ it, or dispose of it, we don't know. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable what has happened. And they forget about it. And this news cycle that Uman brought up, the 72-hour news cycle. Remember when General Milley was on the hot seat? Because of Woodward, not Bernstein, but Woodward wrote a book detailing how he talked to the Chinese generals about how he wouldn't obey a Trump order, how he would interfere with the Trump order and ensure that China wasn't going to experience a retaliatory or other type of strike from America. And that got played down and played out through the news cycle and dumped out the other end. And then he went to Congress and the same thing. It was talked about. People were pissed, and now it's off the table again. What is on the table right now? Parents are now terrorists. That's what's on the table. What's on the table? Uncensored social media represents a threat to democracy. That's on the table. That's where we're at now. That's where we're at now. The FBI is raiding headquarters. That's what's on there now. Dr. Fauci saying, don't worry, as long as you get the Jim Jones juice, you can have a normal Christmas with your family. Unbelievable, folks. We will be back. What is today? Tuesday? Yeah, it's Tuesday. Unbelievable. Oh, we got Charlene T checks in and says, 2 Timothy 1:7, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. There it is. We have free will, folks. It's a gift. Free will. That means you get to make choices for yourself. Free will. Use your own mind to make up your own decision, and you can decide and judge for yourself the facts, the law, and everything. That's a power that the government at all levels doesn't like us to recognize. That we, as jurors or as free human beings anywhere, we have the right to decide what is true and isn't, and we have the right to decide what is the law and is not. Sadly, people who are on the far, far left, they know that, they believe it, but the law they want is called social fascism. They like the idea of communism. They think it's cute, and they're ignoring the history, the real facts. So get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. Thank you for supporting us here at the Prepared Mind Network. Tell everyone, tell the brainwashed knuckleheads you know. You better start waking up. Things are getting shitty. Inflation is on the rise. There's food shortages coming. There's fuel shortages. They already have them in England. There's food problems in Australia, and it's not going to get better, folks, because no one is doing anything to make it better. In fact, what the government and the media and others are doing is to make things worse. They want to take our social and political order and create chaos out of it, so that in time, they can make their order, their new world order out of chaos. And then they have their great reset. And it will just make our lives that much more difficult and the conflict that much more inevitable. Peace, shalom, Godspeed, and Semper Fi.